Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Swannanoa Valley here in Black Mountain, North Carolina, through our online virtual service. My name is Robert Tynes and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. Today's service is for Sunday, September 13th, 2020, but just so you know, it can be accessed at other times through our Facebook page or through the YouTube link found in the current newsletter. As we continue our virtual services due to the ongoing spread of COVID-19, let us try to stay connected with our community as much as possible through online interactions and other safe ways of communicating. I invite all of you to join us for a Zoom coffee hour starting right after the service today. Just follow the link from the current newsletter to join us. All are welcome here, and as we like to say, we need not think alike to love alike. And now let us center ourselves and open our hearts and minds to the service today and what our own Reverend Michael Carter has to say about the self-centered life. Let the service begin.
Good morning. My name is Susan Enright Hicks, and I am the Director of Religious Education here at the UU Congregation of the Swannanoa Valley. It is my pleasure and privilege to share the following opening words by Rumi with you. Yesterday, I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today, I am wise, so I am changing myself. Our story for all ages this morning is We Are Water Protectors, a lovely story of environmental activism written and illustrated by two women with Indigenous backgrounds. I hope you enjoy it. We Are Water Protectors, written by Carol Lindstrom, illustrated by Michaela Goad. Water is the first medicine, Nokomis told me. We come from water. It nourished us inside our mother's body as it nourishes us here on Mother Earth. Water is sacred, she said. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. The river's rhythm runs through my veins, runs through my people's veins. My people talk of a black snake that will destroy the land. Spoil the water, poison plants and animals, wreck everything in its path. When my people first spoke of the black snake, they foretold that it wouldn't come for many, many years. Now, the black snake is here. Its venom burns the land, courses through the water, making it unfit to drink. Take courage. I must keep the black snake away from my village's water. I must rally my people together. To stand for the water, to stand for the land, to stand as one against the black snake. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. It will not be easy. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves, the winged ones, the crawling ones. The four-legged, the two-legged, the plants, trees, rivers, lakes. The earth. We are all related. Tears like waterfalls stream down, tracks down my face, tracks down my people's faces. Water has its own spirit, Nokomis told me. Water is alive, Water remembers our ancestors who came before us, she said. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. We are stewards of the earth. Our spirits have not been broken. We are water protectors. We stand. The black snake is in for the fight of its life.
Well, again, as most of you know, our homecoming ritual, which is for all you churches, are doing this sometime this month, is that we're having our water communion. And it's symbolic in many ways. It's COVID, we know, but some people have gone away, some people have had staycations, and this is the time we come and gather for the first time since the summer. The water is symbolic of life. There is no life without water, but also by having different church members bring their water from the various places they've traveled over the summer, we see that we are fed by many different sources. We don't have to think alike to love alike, but we all come and gather, and people bring the water from geographical locations they may have visited this summer, sometimes from their own sink. But we welcome that. And so let's take the time now and let's celebrate and hear where people are bringing their water from on this, our homecoming Sunday.
Hi, Larry Perlman. This is water I collected in February from the Galapagos Islands. And I think it's very appropriate for our water ceremony because the Galapagos Islands is a place of conservation. It's a place where they revere all life. Everything is protected. Laws are made for the ecology, not for the convenience of human beings. And so I had the water from the Galapagos Islands. Might even be a little sand from the beach in there.
Hi, I'm Catherine, and this is water from a vacation we took this summer. We spent time up in Highlands as a way to reset and gain some energy back. This is from Annelinde Falls.
So you go ahead and say it.
We're Anna Marcel Bearmanis,
Ray Bockhorst.
and our water, we actually did go away one time this summer in June, and we went up to Rainbow Falls, and the water is from Rainbow Falls.
Or it could be.
Could be from Rainbow Falls. And we stayed at Earthshine, and that was a new experience for us, so that was nice.
This water is from my collection barrels at home. I have been dedicated to water since I was a teenager, to its purity, preserving its purity, to collecting it, to watching it, to celebrating it. And this is in celebration, both of it, mostly of its power for either sustenance or destruction. And both are significant, especially this year. So I celebrate the water that comes from the sky.
Hi, I'm Barbara Rogers, and I'm taking my mask off. Thank you for being able to do this. I appreciate it. Today's water is virtual, like so much these days. And I'm appreciating the 12 years that I was able to make pottery, this being one of my loves. The other water that I'm very appreciative of this year is that which was served me by the very wonderful workers at Mission Hospital when I had a heart attack in May. And the other one is my surviving and thriving since then, working with the rehab program called Ornish, named after Dr. Ornish, who came up with a 4-aspect way of reversing heart disease. And I'm very sincerely working on that. The aspects include stress management, diet, exercise, and probably the one I'm forgetting, counseling. I'm so grateful for that. And I really miss my family here at UUCSB. Thanks.
Our water this morning is representative of some beautiful hikes that we took as a family. We got to see some nice waterfalls this summer while staying close to home and socially distanced. And I also just want to express gratitude to the earth for the beautiful water we have and for the water we have to drink.
Okay, now hold that. Hold this one that just second.
If you will join now in singing our opening hymn this morning, is hymn number 126, another one of my favorites, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing, hymn number 126. Our reading this morning is number 633, Yom Kippur. It's Monday, and so we want to, the Day of Atonement for the Jewish religion, and I thought it would be apropos if I read this. It's a time of remembrance, and it's a solemn time. It's a time of forgiveness and making amends. Once more, Atonement Day has come. We stand on holy ground between the day that was and the one that must be. How did we stumble? What did we take? Last year's confession came easily to the lips. Say then, why are our paths strewn with promises like fallen leaves? Love and truth shall meet, and justice and peace shall embrace. I always like to take the time, especially during this time of year, which is wonderful about the Jewish religion, that they make it is a holiday. It is a time to look back over the week, the year, the months, and to see where we might not have been all we can be, and to make public that reconciliation, that repentance, if you don't mind the word. And so this is a beautiful, beautiful holiday. And so with that said, this is the time in the service when we invite you to share a joy, a sorrow, a concern. Maybe you want to articulate something that happened to you in the past week or something you want to make amends for, feel free to do that. It's a safe space. So take the time now. And thank you. Thank you very much.
This week we had one joy emailed in, and it's a good one. Our fantastic office manager, Damaris Pierce, got married to Gary. They are over the moon and had hoped to celebrate big with friends and family, but instead had a lovely and intimate ceremony at home. It was wonderful. After COVID, let's all gather together to celebrate everyone's big life events and milestones, as well as commemorate the losses occurring during this time of having to be apart. After all, it is in community that we thrive, and our shared experiences have such deep impact on how we connect with one another. We are thankful for the UUCSV community and look forward to being with you all again before long. We miss you, Damaris, and congratulations.
Hey, my name's Isaac, and I'm glad that I made some new friends and my friend at my school. Hi, my name is Linus, and I am glad that my arm's feeling better.
Okay, for those of you who, for whatever reason, decided not to speak up or just to articulate anything, know that we keep you in our hearts and in our minds during these challenging times. So thank you again.
This morning's meditation was written by Reverend Marnie P. Harmony. Reverend Marnie was the first UU minister that I ever met. She was the long-serving minister at the First Unitarian Church of Orlando. Here's her I say that it touches us. I say that it touches us, that our blood is seawater and our tears are salt. That the seed of our bodies is scarcely different from the same cells in a seaweed. And that the stuff of our bones is like the coral. I say that the tide rolls in on us, whether we like it or not, and the sands of time keep running their intended course. I say that we have to go down into the wave's trough to find ourselves, and then ride her swell until we can see beyond ourselves into our neighbor's eyes. I say that we shall never leave the harbor if we do not hoist the sail. I say that we've got to walk the waves as well as solid ground. I say that anyone who goes without consciousness of this will remain forever chained to a rusty anchor. May we be worthy of the journey.
I invite you now, this is the offertory, and I want to thank you in advance, which is what I usually do, for your generosity. Again, I know we can't be together, but we are a community. For right now, we're a virtual community, but we are a community. And so I invite you to give as generously as you can, and if you can't give, that's okay too. But for those of you who can, thank you for keeping this community cohesive. We still have bills to pay, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so in the spirit of generosity and in a deep spirit of appreciation for your gifts, we'll now collect this morning's offering.
My father could use a little mercy now. The fruits of his labor fall and rot slowly on the ground. His work is almost over, it won't be long, he won't be around. I love my father, he could use some mercy now. My brother could use a little mercy now. He's a stranger to freedom. He's shackled to his fear and his doubt. The pain that he lives in is almost more than living will allow. I love my brother. He could use some mercy now. My church and my country could use a little mercy now. As they sink into a poison pit, gonna take forever to climb out. They carry the weight of the faithful who follow them down. I love my church and country. They could use some mercy now. Now every living thing could use a little mercy now. Only the hand of grace can end the race towards another mushroom cloud. People in power, they'll do anything to keep their crown. I love life and life itself could use some mercy Yeah, we all could use a little mercy now. I know we don't deserve it, but we need it anyhow. We hang in the balance, dangle between hell and hallowed ground. Every single one of us could use some mercy now. Every single one of us could use some mercy now. Yeah, every single one of us could use some mercy now.
We've been hearing a lot these many months about people who are self-centered and people who are selfish, especially because they don't want to wear masks. And I personally believe that the topic is a little more complex than what the media is making it out to be. And by that I mean that we've been taught to believe that all the red states are anti-science and all the blue states are not, that altruistic folks want to wear masks, and those who don't want to wear masks are selfish people. But that's another topic for another time. In truth, though, there are people who are egotistical and self-centered, and no one's denying that. One definition of the term ego is a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. There was a phrase when I was coming up that you would say, if you say someone has a big ego, you were saying he or she is very full of themselves, or they have a high opinion of themselves. In psychoanalytic theory, the ego is the part of the mind that mediates between the conscious and the unconscious, and it's responsible for reality testing, if you will, and a sense of personal identity. To be self-centered is to be preoccupied with oneself and one's affairs. Some therapists and even some spiritual teachers say the ego creates separation, and separation creates suffering. It's very Buddhist in a lot of ways. And it's also been said that the ego is like having dust in your eyes. And unless you clear away the dust, you can't see anything clearly. So if you clear the ego, you can see the world as it really is. And still others argue that there is such a thing as a healthy ego, that one needs to be emotionally healthy, to have a healthy sense of self, to be able to take care of oneself. Good self-esteem is crucial. Yet the ego in this perspective is very much necessary. It's important for independent thinking and creativity. You need a healthy sense of ego to resist herd mentality and conformity. The ego enables you to reject intellectual or artistic laziness and forge a new path. And so from this perspective, the ego is necessary. You just don't want to inflate it. You want to use it wisely. And I believe personally that there's truth in all of those statements. But one thing is certain. An individual has not begun to fully live until she can rise above the narrow horizons of her particular individualistic concerns to the broader sense of humanity, the broader concerns of humanity. And this is certainly one of the crucial concerns or problems of life, that many people don't ever get to the point of rising above their own concerns. They never seem to rise above self-interest and self-centeredness and a disrupted personality. The individual's maturity, hopefully, and usually, evolves when they rise above self-centeredness or egotism to something greater than themselves. If this evolution does not occur, the person is not really living life. They're just kind of existing, but never really living. And we all know people like this. They seem to live in an eternal I situation or universe. They simply do not have the capacity to project the I into you or we. They are deeply wounded, and they deserve our understanding, and yes, when you can muster it, our compassion, which in and of itself can be a challenge. I remember listening to John Bradshaw, the late therapist who made a great imprint on my life, and he likened it to, let's say I have a toothache, okay? And I for whatever reason, I don't have the means or the money or whatever, I haven't gotten it fixed, okay? I got a toothache. Maybe it's root canal or whatever. I am tooth-centered. I cannot be present for you or you because I'm so centered on my pain. I cannot be there for you. And at the same time, I'm not making that an excuse, but we have our wounds. And at the same time, we are adults and we are responsible for our wounds. And Bradshaw makes it very plain. Just because I'm wounded doesn't mean I get to bleed all over you. You need to be able to set limits and boundaries with people. But the wounded self-centered person does not possess the emotional and mental tools for an eternal, dangerous, and sometimes costly altruism. They lead a life of perpetual egotism. They can only really talk about what they can do or what they have done. They will tell you at the beginning of every conversation, what they have been, what they've been doing, who they know. They make sure they let you know how many degrees they have, where they went to school, and in some cases even how much money they have. And at times, we are all guilty of this to some extent. We meet it in ourselves, and we meet it in other selves as well. This is the problem of being self-centered. Now, children are like this by nature. A child is by nature egocentric. A child is a bundle of his or her own sensations needing to be cared for. And during the first 6 or 7 years of life, the ego is dominant in the child's development. Sigmund Freud coined the phrase, His Majesty the baby. That means I want what I want when I want it. This is the life of an infant, of a toddler. It's natural for a child. And yet, as we mature, depending on our environment, we tend to grow out of this. We learn to care for people simply because we care for them and not necessarily what they can do for us. We may turn to higher loyalties, higher causes, if you will. We may give ourselves to causes that we believe in to make a difference in the world. So in some ways, we may say that self-centered people may be this way, not because of any ethical issue, but perhaps from a more psychological one. They may be in arrested development. They have not fully grown up, in a sense. And so in some circumstances, this can lead to tragic consequences. Frustration is experienced. There may be disillusionment and unhappiness, for usually when folks are self-centered, they are seeking attention. They want to be admired, and this is how they set out to do it. Yet the very thing that they want, the very thing that is sought after, proves to be they can't get it. They can't get a grasp on it, and on top of that, people stay away. I can't be bothered with them. I need to get away from them. And so the very thing they seek, they never really get. And so the self-centered person can also be extremely sensitive, ultra-sensitive, if you will. Very little sense of humor. Everything is taken personally. Everything is taken seriously. They are much too self-absorbed, and life is not bending itself to their will. It's very difficult to live life, to live a good life, when you're constantly at war with it. Disappointments cannot be faced, and one cannot effectively deal with criticism. You feel persecuted. The very universe seems to be against you. So quite naturally, questions arise. How do I deal, Michael, how do I deal with someone like this? How do I at least navigate through self-centeredness, my own and that of others? How can I live? How can we live in this universe with a balance and with a type of perspective that keeps us from not being too self-absorbed in the self? I wish I knew what to tell you, but I can offer you some suggestions. I mean, if I knew, we'd have the Nobel Prize. We could split the money. A good therapist is helpful. I mean, that's a given. No doubt this is true. The key word here is good. I feel one of the best ways, though, to work with the problem of self-centeredness or egotism is to discover some cause, some purpose that one finds important enough to devote your energy to find something greater than yourself to align with. In this way, the ego is not suppressed, but the ego is extended and it becomes fulfilled because it is making a difference. To align with something outside of the self, in this case, can help to at least diminish some self-centeredness. Now, to find some great purpose of which you can lend your life to fully give yourself to, is the beginning of selflessness. People have done this throughout generations and found the ego satisfaction that living life this way presents. You don't have to destroy the ego or to banish it forever. You see, the ego has certain desires. People want to feel significant. They want to feel that they matter. They want to grasp a sense of somebodyness. People want to feel that they count. Destroying the ego, or even attempting to do it, because I don't really believe you can destroy it, it doesn't do anything. You always have the ego. 3 great analysts of the 20th century pointed out that there are certain basic desires that human beings have and that they will always have at any cost. Freud says the basic desire of human beings is to be loved. For Alfred Adler, the basic desire for a human being is to feel important and to feel significant. All human beings have this desire. Carl Jung says the basic desire for human beings is to feel secure. And the basic way to solve this dilemma is not to destroy, but to find a sense of self-importance. Unitarian Albert Schweitzer dedicated his life to those in Africa who have been victims of colonialism. Martin Luther King Jr. said that life's most persistent and urgent question is this: what are you doing for others? For Florence Nightingale, finding meaning and a sense of belonging was by giving herself to the great cause of tending to the wounded. So there are many causes and examples of this. Sometimes it's family. Sometimes it may be friends. I think this is what Emerson meant when he said, "Oh, see how the masses of men worry themselves into nameless graves, while here and there some unselfish soul forgets himself into immortality." Another way of rising above egotism is to realize that you are where you are today because of someone else. Someone helped you to get where you are today. As Howard Thurman reminds us, we are all standing on the shoulders of someone else, trying to fit into a crown that we are slowly growing tall enough to wear. This realization keeps one from becoming self-centered. I hope you can see that. No matter how much popularity you have, how much education you have, no matter how much money you have, someone in the universe helped you to get it. When you genuinely see that this is the case, you really can't be arrogant. We never get anywhere in this world without the forces of history and individuals in the background helping us to get there. All of us are dependent on something or someone. You know, centuries ago, human beings believed that we were the center of the universe, and I'm talking about the earth now. A limited view of science convinced human beings that we were the center of the universe. It's called the geocentric theory. The earth was supposed to be the center of the universe, and everything revolved around the earth. Well, we go counterclockwise, the way the planets go. Then along comes Copernicus and Galileo and a few others who said, no, the sun is the center. And there was much resistance to this, especially from the Catholic Church. But eventually, what we now call the heliocentric theory came into being. And that reminded us that we are dependent on something. We are not the center of the universe. We are only at the center to the extent that we give ourselves over to something greater than ourselves. And when you really consider this perspective, you can enter the room of your life and you can take down the mirrors because you no longer see yourself. But the mirrors somehow are transformed into windows, and you can look out on the objective world and see that you are because of somebody else. He or she who lives a primarily self-centered life will lose it. But he or she who can tame the ego and not live primarily from that place, if they can dedicate themselves to some cause, to some great purpose, to some great idea, some great loyalty, she who discovers that she stands where she stands because the forces of history and because of her ancestors and because of other individuals, comes to realize that she stands with a great cloud of witnesses and that she stands as part of the interdependent web of which we are all a part. This is one of the ways, not the only way, but just one of the ways to the integrated personality. An illustration is in order before we close. Rabbi Jesus told a story of a gentleman who was going to make his sacrifice, his gift at the altar of the synagogue. And on his way there, he remembered that there was someone who had a grudge against him. This is very interesting. It's not that he held a grudge against someone else, but that a person had a grudge against him. And so what he did was he went high and low into the inner crevices of his own spirit and soul, but in the outways and byways, sniffing the air, if you will, until he found the person that held the grudge against him. And he said to this person, I cannot take my gift to the altar unless I make amends with you. For how can I be happy when knowing my brother or sister is in hell? So you see, all of this is about being conscious, about being aware. A final word regarding non-reaction to the self-centered individual, realizing, of course, that this includes ourselves in certain situations. It's always good to try to respond to someone instead of reacting to them. For when you realize that it's not personal, that this individual is hurting, that this person is wounded, there is no longer a compulsion to react, as it were. By not reacting to the unconscious negative aspects of the ego, you will oftentimes be able to bring some sanity into a situation. You will have to protect yourself from deeply unaware or unconscious people, yet you can find ways to do this without making them enemies. You can do this. Difficult at times? Yes. Unpleasant at times? Yes. Doable? Of course. With some time and effort, it is doable. It's important to remember that we don't always see things as they are, we see things as we are. Always keep in mind that your greatest protection, indeed your greatest asset, is becoming conscious, along with your sense of compassion. These traits will be the gifts to yourself that keep on giving in the days, the weeks, the months, and even the years ahead. May it always be so. Amen, and blessed be. Well, I'm wishing you all a wonderful afternoon. I want to invite you to sing an old classic, an old favorite, Try to Remember. Try to Remember, the Kind of September. So it's an oldie but goodie, and have a wonderful afternoon, and thanks for tuning in.
Michael asked for our hymn today to be Try to Remember from the musical The Fantastics. And please do sing along with all three verses. But I want to say that this is also a great waltz, so you waltzers can get up and enjoy that.
I leave you with the following words by Reverend Adam Lawrence Dyer, who is a UU minister in Cambridge, Massachusetts. We have, in Unitarian Universalism, a powerful excuse to humble ourselves, not to the false god of me, myself, and I, but to the reality that is wrapped in one word, we. It is we that comes from all kinds of different human, spiritual, and life experience. It is we that sustains us.
Did glow with the gold of sunshine, and my tunes were played on the harp unstrung. Would you hear my voice come through the music? Would you hold it near as it were your own? It's a hand-me-down. The thoughts are broken, perhaps they're better left unsung. I don't know, I don't really care. Let there be songs to fill the air. Still water when there is no pebble tossed nor wind to blow. Reach out your hand. If your cup be empty, if your cup is full, let it be again, let it be known. There is a fountain that was not made by the hands of men. There is a road, no simple highway between the dawn and the dark of night. And if you go, no one may follow. That path is for your steps alone. Ripple in still water when there is no pebble tossed nor wind to blow. You who choose to lead must follow, and if you fall, you will fall alone. But should you stand, then who's to guide you? If I knew the way, I would take you home. La da 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 da